Yes, it's me. I'm coming over. I'm breaking protocol. I've already got my coffee on the table. Hi. Welcome to another episode. Dumpster divers, PC reclamation, making it count. It's about 3 o'clock in the morning, and and again, I got my coat on to stay warm. All the girls are all nestled in their beds. Visions of computer graphics dancing through their heads. And here I sit by myself. It's nice and quiet. That's one good thing. Lots of times I'll be making videos and, somebody commented, there's somebody doing dishes in the background or, noise. Well, that's the home setting. That's the domestic home setting. I still build computers, and this has always been, this is the theme. This is, real life. This is domestics. This is the raw footage. This is, no glitz, nothing like that. Some people like that amateur approach, and other people are really disturbed by it. I'm not forcing anybody to watch my channel. I'm not doing this for money. I'm not monetized. I never intend to be monetized because I can speak my mind. I can speak my mind about any product I like. I'm not asking for money from anybody. Who knows? Maybe I'll get a Patreon or something and do that later on. It all depends how popular. I don't think my channel is going to be that popular, so I just don't. But I would like my information to get out there on YouTube. I would like people to be able to access it because I guess I have a rather different spin on things. Not really, like there's not a lot of channels like this one, guys. Okay, my focus is primarily on restoring old computers and saving them from the dumpster. And that's when I came up with that title, Dumpster Divers. A bit of a joke because I don't really go diving into dumpsters. I mean, maybe, like if I'm walking down the street and I see what looks like a good computer thrown on the top of a dumpster pile, might have a look at it. You never know. Because I don't like seeing dumpsters. I don't like seeing computers thrown away in dumpsters. That's for sure. But normally I just deal in used computer components. Sometimes you have to buy parts brand new to get an older computer to work, that sort of thing. But as many of you know, I like restoring older computers, and so it was a tongue-in-cheek title that I came up with, Dumpster Divers PC Reclamation, and I want to make it count. So that's what I do. And I would build computers brand new with brand new parts, for clients. I have done that, and order parts brand new and install them, in computers for a client. And if someone should ask me to do that, I will do that for them. I won't do laptops anymore because I'm kind of old. Well, I'll do SSDs or something simple like that, but and I can do that, no problem. And I can save people's data. I do data recovery quite a bit, actually. But that's really not what this video is about. I'm breaking protocol here with you because something's on my mind, and it's like around 3 o'clock in the morning, and Probably should be in bed sleeping. I got to see the doctor today sometime, and well, anyway, yeah, I've got a doctor's appointment. Yeah, getting old, right? But I can't sleep because there's something going on with Windows right now, and it has to do with logging into, setting up your Windows account, having a local account, and this is all over the place. This is on Tom's Hardware. I had my little laptop here. There it is. Kerry Holtzman, he put out a video saying, why I don't trust Tom's Hardware anymore, a discussion of concern. And I appreciate his concern. And I may have rubbed him the wrong way when I made some comments on his site, but I stated that I'm caught betwixt and between on this, and I am. And for good reason, because there's another fellow out there that you might want to check out. Jody, I don't know how to pronounce his last name properly, like Jody Boucheron, Boucheron, I think. I'm not positive on that, but Jody. Jody's pretty easy, Jody. He made some very plausible statements about Windows 11 when Windows 11 was first being released. And he did a follow-up video on that. And I really identify with what he's saying because over the years I've been watching. Now, both these men, Jody and Kerry, they're old school. They remember when, it wasn't like clicking on a bunch of windows, but you actually had to enter commands into CMD to get your computer to do stuff for you. And you're largely dealing with, text. They're from that era. They are my seniors. I did not really start getting into computers until the turn of the century. And but when I did, I kind of exploded and got into PC building. I was part of MSN Gaming Zone for a while. I got my MS Plus with them. I'm not going to get into all the details about my background. I'm not an IT. I've never stated that I'm an IT. But I'm not computer illiterate. I just have my own approach to PCs and PC building and operation of personal computers, PCs. However, I really do respect and even revere Kerry Holtzman for all that he's done for people who want to understand PCs, want to build, PCs. I think that he is a tremendous boon to the PC building community, and I've always admired his work and had pretty much nothing nothing bad to say about the guy. I know that sometimes when professionals, and Kerry is a professional, get established, they tend to come off as a little bit arrogant, maybe perhaps a little narcissistic. But I remember one guy saying, "It ain't bragging if you can do it." It's kind of a funny thing, but listen to him. Definitely listen to him. Listen to what he has to say. But you might want to check out this channel on Kerry Holtzman. Why I don't trust Tom's Hardware anymore. A discussion of concern. I appreciate Kerry's concern, but again, I'm caught betwixt and between on something here because I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Tom's Hardware has been around for a long time, and there's a lot of very good information that can be gleaned from Tom's Hardware. Trust them anymore? You know, I'll be honest. I don't trust any how-to website, you know, Windows 11 forum, whatever, you name it, 100%. You can't. It's people put it together. Guess what? People make mistakes. People will promote disinformation. People will err. And so, you know, if you're going to trust a website 100%, well, power to you. I mean, I hope you don't get hurt, because sooner or later you're going to run into some disinformation. I hope you don't, you know, follow the disinformation. But recently there was some sort of alarmist statement made about Windows 11. And maybe there was another one here. I think Kerry may have mentioned about how Windows 11 would not be available on Windows 8, 9, and platforms, Gen 8 and 9 platforms. I don't know how that goes, because there were some computers that were not even, 3-year-old computers, and they were not regarded as Windows 11 ready. They were not fit, according to Microsoft, for Windows 11. So I don't know if Tom's Hardware is completely wrong in that regard. I do know that my computer at 5 years was not acceptable for Windows 11. 5-year-old computer, thousands of dollars, of value there, that computer, at that time that I built it, everything was brand new. The case I purchased brand new for it. All the hardware at that time that I bought it, was brand new. The system board was brand new, and I'd saved over 3 years to build that computer with all brand new parts. And so 5 years later, Windows 11 up and tells me that my computer is not Windows 11 compliant. With thousands of dollars invested in it, it's suddenly not considered compliant after 5 years, not even. I think it was May of 2016, and Windows 11 came out in it was I think October of 2016 when the CPU for my computer came out, and in May of 2011. Windows 11 came out, and my PC was not considered Windows 11 ready. It was on the, it was not on the list. It was on the ban list, or whatever you want to call it. It was not, Windows 11 ready. And it wasn't because of TPM2 either, because that computer has that platform, the X99 platform, has TPM2. Native TPM2. No, it was just, I guess, the CPU design, the architecture of the CPU. Any CPU that fit that platform was not compliant with Windows 11. Well, I wasn't pleased about that, and I'm still not pleased about that. I was, in effect, I've been forced to purchase another. Look, you're not really ever forced, right? I could just say, oh yeah, well, fine, then I'm just not going to be compliant. I could do that too. I could just say goodbye Microsoft and just go with Linux, as what Kerry had said to me. Like, if you don't like it, don't use it. Well, that's a bit harsh, don't you think? If you don't like it, don't use it. Okay, I wonder how many businesses would actually stay running if that attitude were, enthusiastically promoted, with car manufacturers and home builders and, you go to a restaurant. Well, if you don't like it, don't come here. Don't eat it. Obviously, that kind of attitude isn't really the attitude of a company that is attentive to the needs of the client. Now, I'm not sure who Kerry meant when he said they, but essentially, something like they are not here, to cater to your needs, or they're not here to accommodate. Accommodate, that was the word he used. You. Okay. I don't know who they are, but if they are not here to accommodate me, the client, the customer, I wonder how far Kerry would get if he said to his customers, I'm not here to accommodate you. Sorry, but this is what you get. I'm not here to accommodate you. I don't think he'd get much business. I think business would start dropping pretty quick. Because when you are in the business of serving the public, you're there to accommodate them. Oh yeah, you are. And you're there to understand what their needs are and to listen to their complaints so you have a better understanding of what their problem is or their issue with their PC is, okay? You're there to accommodate them. Yes, you are. And individually, maybe not, Individually, that's fine, But there are a lot of people that are really concerned about this issue, and this issue has to do with NRO. It's basically, putting in layman's terminology, whether or not you can set up a local account on your PC, rather than having to tie in your sign-in with your email and your Microsoft account or a Microsoft account, being coerced into making a Microsoft account just so you can sign into your computer. And, they've tried little tricks like, you can't really set up your account very easily unless you're online. And, Kerry's argument for this is, well, just use the NRO command. Okay, that's fine for people who understand that. That's fine for people who can just, go into CMD and do NRO. I mean, it's not rocket science. I admit that. But he's from that time where you did that. And most people are not anymore. Okay, and so they're stuck with the screen staring at them saying, you need to get online to finish setting up your account. Now, there are all kinds of workarounds for that. Okay, NRO is not the only workaround. And, well, Kerry knows that too. And he's not the only person that's concerned about this, okay? Now, in fact, he's really not concerned about this. What he is saying is that everybody is panicking, and oh my goodness, this is a fear mongering. This is totally unnecessary fear mongering. Okay, I'll give the journalists, Tom's Hardware, or any a little leeway on this. Because personally, I think after watching Microsoft operate over these past couple of decades or so, they are getting step by step closer and closer to the point where basically they want to monopolize your hardware. And you really, if you want to put, for example, another operating system on the same computer, well, you either choose that operating system or you choose Microsoft, but you can't have both. And I think that's below the belt. I think that's pretty shady, because I'm not confused about who owns my hardware. I own my hardware. My hardware belongs to me. All right. Now this gets into CMS. Secure boot, right? TPM2 and all that, right? Where I can't just have, choose which one. I get a splash screen telling me, or a boot screen, or, BCD, right? Whatever you want to call it. It's a user interface. Just simply listing the different operating systems you have on your computer. And you can boot to Linux or you can boot to Microsoft. You can't run that when you start putting secure boot on now. And you can't well, there are some workarounds, but basically you can't, okay? You got, that's the point. You got to fiddle, okay? And then now with the new Windows 11, you've got to go into your BIOS and keep changing your settings every time you want to boot from your BCD to Linux or to Microsoft. You got to fiddle in your BIOS every time to do that. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Okay, and I really do believe if Microsoft had it their way, oh yeah, that'd be it. Everything you do would be contingent on, Microsoft's approval. And so this is a serious issue. And I remember reading Microsoft themselves saying, I should have wrote down some notes or maybe showed it to you, because Microsoft themselves said that their move on pulling NRO, or hiding, it's still there, guys, hiding NRO from the user, was to get them to make a Microsoft account. They're not making a secret about this, folks. They really want you to make a Microsoft account, and they want that, like embedded with your login. In other words, you don't have a Microsoft account, well, then you don't get to use the operating system. That's ludicrous. That's absolutely ludicrous. You should be able to make a Microsoft account later on that, isn't contingent upon your sign-in to your operating system. That is really invasive. That is really, talk about a power play. And so, whether or not you can or you can't, when through step-by-step graduations, they are making it increasingly difficult for you to establish a local account. You can't just get away with unplugging it anymore and that sort of thing. Yeah, I think somebody needs to blow the whistle. I think it's time for some alarmist reports to go up. And, well, maybe Tom's Hardware went overboard. I don't know. I didn't read the Tom's Hardware article on this, but, he said it looks like, or it appears, and then, later on it was decided that, that's what they want to do. They really do. Microsoft wants to do this. And that's just wrong. It's just wrong. It's just wrong to want to do that. People should be able to set up a local account encumbrance free and not have to, have their login depend on their email or any of that sort of thing, not have to be completely roped into Microsoft spamming and all their other undesirable applications, because they have a lot of them, okay, that a lot of people don't want or don't need. So, my point or my argument to Kerry was that we need these alarmists because the alternative is unthinkable. Nobody says anything. They'll push again. Listen, they'll keep on pushing to get what they want and to see how much they can get away with until people start complaining. Microsoft will be in your bank account. Microsoft will be in your personal phone. Microsoft will be in your living room. Microsoft will be on your telephone, in your bedroom, in your bathroom. Everywhere you go, it's going to be Microsoft. Microsoft will be in your smart home. Microsoft will be, like, what I'm trying to say is you should have the liberty to say, no, I don't want that, and I don't want that, and I don't want that, or the next thing, and still be able to use a Microsoft operating system. That would be the right way to go about it. That would be the ethical way to operate. But to just foist it on people, I think that's below the belt. I think that's really, really rude. And you can argue, well, there is a workaround. You can do this. You can use, NRO. Here's how you can get into NRO. Get into, Control Alt Delete CMD. Type in the command, and you can still do it. There's a way to do it. Okay, listen. Your average domestic home user doesn't know that. All right? Neither should they have to. Okay? If they don't want that, they shouldn't have to jump through all those hoops and hurdles to quote unquote hack the system to get something as simple as a local account. That's ridiculous. Okay? There's a reason why Microsoft doesn't like Rufus, okay? And Rufus is one of Kerry's favorites, right? And Rufus will let you do that too. Rufus has got its built-in NRO. So, you can bypass all that nonsense. You can bypass a lot of garbage with Rufus. Stuff that even Kerry doesn't recommend bypassing. But, he praises Rufus, uses it regularly. Your average user doesn't know about Rufus. The average user doesn't care about stuff like that. They just want their computer. They just want their operating system. Why should the average domestic end user have to jump through all those hoops and hurdles just to get something as simple as a local account? It isn't right. This is not ethical. And I'm so glad that there are watchdogs, even like that reporter on Tom's Hardware, even if he isn't technical savvy, and that there's people, making a big stink about this, because they should. They really should. It's and well, you don't like it, go somewhere else. Well, maybe that's just the answer. But it gets pretty tough when you want to use Linux and you've already paid for a Microsoft operating system. You'd like to use both. They're getting a little big for their britches, I think, in taking those sorts of liberties with my hardware. It's my hardware, Microsoft, my hardware. And if Microsoft is taking the attitude, well, if you don't like what we do with your hardware, don't use us. Well, I guess the writing's on the wall then, right? Anyway, I just wanted to say, like, I'm glad for people who are whistleblowers, because when I consider the alternative, right? Like that old saying, they took the I can't remember how it goes. They took the bakers and I said nothing. They took the candlestick makers and I said nothing. They took, and then eventually it comes down to you, right? And then it matters, and then it matters, right? Like I think we've got some examples in history that make it very clear as to why we need whistleblowers. And yeah, maybe they're alarmist, maybe they're a little bit dramatic, maybe they're sensationalist. I got that. I understand. I got that. But rather that nobody says nothing. Nobody says anything. And Microsoft and big corporations, it doesn't matter who they are, they just keep on, pushing and having their own way with everything. And everyone else says nothing. What? Do we as consumers have no backbone at all? Do we just have, maybe it's like Steve Jobs said, like maybe that's it. Our needs are going to be dictated to us. And they will tell us what we need, Maybe Klaus Schwab's got it right, You will eat bugs and be happy and own nothing, right? Like, I'm an old man. I'm from another time, I guess, Maybe I'm supposed to just eat bugs and be happy and own nothing. But right now, I own my hardware. My hardware is my property. And I don't like what Windows 11 has chosen to do with my property. And so, yeah, I do have options. I still use Windows 7, believe it or not, and I use Linux. And hey, Microsoft just keeps making Linux look better and better, so that's their job. Linux couldn't actually ask for a better friend when you really think of it, because with that kind of heavy-handedness, making it that difficult to set up a local account, really? And that heavy-handedness with TPM2, and people go, oh, it's for security. For whose security? Certainly not mine. Security keys are stolen by hackers all the time. TPM2 has been around for what? Well, TPM has been around for about 12 years. Okay, so I don't know exactly how long TPM2 has been around. It's definitely over 5 years. It's already proven it's broken. But they're going to ram it down our throats because the shareholders want to make money. And that's the bottom line. It's all about money, folks. It's not about your security. They don't care about your security, okay? They care about their security, right? That's what it's about, all right? And they also care about their ability to have their way with your hardware, all right? That's another large part of it. And this is beyond the pale. This is ridiculous. I hope some of you understand what I'm talking about. There are ways, okay, to get around this nonsense. There's NRO, there's another one, I'm trying to remember the name of it. But that command doesn't work on all Windows 11 installations. X. I can't remember it right offhand, but you can find it. It's online. There are different ways of getting around that, having to make a Microsoft account, contingent on your sign-in. That's ridiculous. That's really ridiculous. You should be able to operate independently without all that, and setting yourself up for spam from Windows spam. Oh, they do. They'll spam you to death. Okay. There's Rufus, just like Kerry Holtzman pointed out. So you see, I understand. He's going like, "What's the big deal, guys? You know, like, well, why are you fear mongering? There's always Rufus, right? Or there's always NRO, right? Well, yeah, for people who are savvy, yeah, for people who know what they're doing, sure, okay. But there's a lot of people who just want to do their emails. They want a social network. You know, they want to do their home videos, and they don't want to bother with all that techie stuff. You know, they paid for it. They want to use it. Let them have it. You know, don't make them jump through a bunch of hurdles. My goodness, just because they want to have a local account. This is insanity. And so is the TPM2 thing. It's insanity as well. It's crazy. You know, I should be able to decide. I should be able to boot, you know, from my BIOS to whatever operating system I like, without having to fiddle constantly just to be able to access, you know, a different operating system just because it isn't Windows. That's look, Windows doesn't own me, and it doesn't own my hardware. But you know, if you gave them the opportunity, they would. They'll try to own you. Then not only your hardware, they'll try to own you. Yeah, if somebody has to say something. I know that sounds sensational. I know that sounds dramatic. I know that sounds alarmist. But that's the way corporations are. Okay. As someone once said, you know, corporations, they only know the price of lunch. You know, it's about money. Okay, they don't care about you. So somebody has to step up and say something. And if enough people, if millions of people said, no, Microsoft, yeah, oh, I guarantee you, Microsoft would listen. And be, oh, we can't get away with that yet. But step by step, I see a boiling frog thing going on here. And it's so funny because I likened it to that, and then I watched this video by Jody Boucheron, or however you pronounce his name, and lo and behold, he used the same comparison. He used the same analogy. It's a boiling frog analogy. It's, you know, just little incremental steps, step by step, until finally Microsoft completely owns your hardware. Yeah, so you know what? Sometimes that takes a little bit of, to get people's attention, a little bit of alarmist, a little bit of whistleblowing, you know, a little bit of maybe extremist positioning, because at the end of the day, your autonomy matters and your liberty matters. And what you want to use and what you don't want to use on your computer matters. So I hope some of you get me what I'm talking about here. And I definitely have no ill intent toward Kerry Holtzman or any of these people who are poo-pooing people's legitimate concern, because it is a legitimate concern. They're making it so hard for you to set up a local account. And why is that? Well, I'll leave that for you to think about. Anyway, so there it is. God bless you. Thank you for watching my video. I was going to go on here and, you know, read some of the things that Jody said and read some of the things that Kerry said and read some of the things that other people have said and maybe check into that Tom Hardware article. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just put a bunch of links below and you can decide for yourself, you know, regarding this, but I don't like what I see coming. I don't like where this is going. Maybe perhaps I know too much, but I don't like where this is going, folks. Your autonomy matters, and if you want to use a local account, in fact, I really recommend that you do use a local account when you use Microsoft operating systems. And hey, guess what? Gary Holtzman uses a local account. Oh yeah, he likes his local account. Why is it that all these computer savvy people want a local account? Why is that? Think about that too. There's something else for you to think about, right? Anyway, maybe I've said enough. Maybe I've said too much. There it is. Take it or leave it for what it's worth. I'm so glad that I can still speak my mind without being penalized. But please subscribe. I like the way that guy does that. I'll have to put a link to his video too. I'm trying to remember his name. He's a wonderful man. His channel on YouTube is Understanding Computers. His name is Christopher. I can't remember his last name. But that guy's really on the basics. He really has a wonderful way of explaining computer hardware to you. And yeah, the name of his site is Explaining Computers. Explaining Computers. So Christopher, shout out to you. I can almost guarantee you Christopher uses a local account. Okay? So think about that. Think about that. And why would Microsoft? Well, Microsoft tells you themselves. Because they want you to take a Microsoft account. Whose computer is it? You decide. Is it a Microsoft computer or is it your computer? You have to decide. Because that gap is getting narrower and narrower. So a shout out to Jody too. And I'm going to put those links below for you to check for yourself and understand what all this local account business is about. Because I think you should be made aware. It is a legitimate concern, regardless. And step by step, Microsoft is trying to take away your autonomy. And that's something that you should think about. Okay? If they weren't, they wouldn't be doing these things. They wouldn't be pulling these pranks. They wouldn't be trying to own your hardware. All right, there, I think I've said enough. All right, so God bless you, and yes, thank you for watching.